Perfect. Okay, now we're going to rig. I use 1/1000th tungsten wire from Ray Harlan. You can also use some thin Kevlar thread. You'll be a couple milligrams heavier with that, but it's a whole lot easier to work with than this tungsten. Just seeing the tungsten is a challenge. Always get the end back on the spool before you cut the tungsten. And this is going to be looking like I'm not doing anything in the video because it's so fine. I'm going to turn on my headlight so I can see it a little bit here. Alright, I'm going to thread it through this top eyelet twice from the same side. So I'm wrapping it around one side of that front eyelet. This tungsten is not nearly as fragile or as dangerous as the boron as far as getting stuck in your skin. Alright, so that's something I can do because I've got this eyelet, because I've got the wire prop hanger. But you can do the rest of this. So after wrapping it through that eyelet, I'm going to run it down the front face. I'm going to put a little bit of 50-50 glue, and I'm going to lay the tungsten into that bead. Try and coax it to stick down. And then I'm going to wrap it a couple times around my front leg and back up the front face. Now, if you don't have the wire one, you don't have that loop up top of wire, but you can still run it down the front face with some glue, wrap it a few times around the front leg of your aluminum, and then back up that front face there. And that should do a pretty good job of locking it in. I'm going to hang on to that a second until it settles down. What? Dinner. Alright. Sounds like dinner's ready, so. Alright. I'm going to take my blade and make the tiniest little V-notch at the top of my rigging post. And I'm going to have to stop there. Dinner's on the table. We'll pick it up later. That's a long enough recording. I'll start a new recording for rigging. Alright, before I skipped out on you, I was working on rigging this. So, basically we've made the wire go down the front face of this, wrap a couple times around the front leg, and then back up the front face, glued on each way. Then I'm going to stretch the wire to the left of the wing post. Top of the rigging post, and then a couple times around the rear hook, and then twice around the back of the motor stick. And I usually actually do the motor stick and not the extension. Not sure if it matters. Tack down the end with a little 50-50. Hold it in place until it sticks. And I stretch the wire straight. I mean, I'm not stretching it like a guitar string. I'm going to just wrap the end on the hook again and put a drop on here. You don't need to go crazy on nailing it down at the end here, but if you don't nail it down well, it will unravel. And I like to have some extra there, just so if I need to restring it, I've got enough to hold on to and work with. I'll just go ahead and snip that off. I'm going to snip it off with a little bit of a tail after I wrapped it on that post a second time, and then I'll just glue that tail down. So I ran a little glue bead around the whole diameter or circumference of the motor stick where the wire was wrapped. I'm going to put a drop on the top here. Just to lock it in. And then I'm going to look at how well it's held down at the front here. Not very well, in my opinion. Going to go ahead and trim that off to maybe about 1 centimeter after it comes up the post, and up the front face, and then we'll try and smear that down in some glue too. Sometimes easier said than done. The tungsten has its own type of curl, and sometimes just doesn't want to lay down. I'm going to use a pin instead of my finger. Alright, I got the end settled down. Still got a little bit coming into the joint there. Get a little more on the front face. Actually snagged it on some of the boron there, so. And I'll put a drop on the metal where it's wrapped around. Alright, so motor stick's pretty much finished at that point. We need to do the tissue tubes onto the wing. I'll do all the tissue tubes at once. We need to do the stab posts when we do the tissue tubes for that. I'm going to let all of this set up overnight, and then tomorrow we'll do a short episode to mount the stab to the tail boom, mount the wing to the motor stick, and then the only thing left at that point is the propeller, which I will be doing a sparless boron balsa propeller, which is a newer version of the propeller. You don't have to go that way until you're, say, above 23, 24 minutes. You're not going to notice a difference. It's a few percent difference, I think. So, all right, we'll stop there.